This story called Leaving Home might seem to have been written this year. It was actually written in 2017. Leaving Home. On CBC News on Tuesday, it was announced the forest fire situation in northern Ontario continued to worsen. More than 90 fires were now burning out of control, the largest of which was threatening the community of Pillsman Lake. Residents there were on evacuation notice to be ready to leave their homes at short notice. Principal concern in the community was that the only road out, southwards towards Hearst, might be cut off completely if the wind were to change. At the home of George and Mary Ellen Hardy outside Pillsman Lake, the following conversation took place. "George, I'm getting really worried," said Mary Ellen. "You just heard the news. We might be put under an evacuation order at any time. The fire's only about 10 miles away. I can pack up the minivan ready to leave, but I'll have to call for help to get you into it." "Listen, Mary Ellen, I'm not going. You and Becky can go and I'll stay here. Maybe the fire won't get to Pillsman Lake." "George, you know I just can't leave you here. Who will look after you? And anyway, you're my husband. We've always faced the future together." "Listen, my love, I'm dying. You know it and I know it. Pain is getting worse every day. There's no bone in my body that doesn't hurt. I couldn't possibly get myself into the van, and I'd be beside myself with agony over that bumpy road down to Hearst. We always said that I'd stay here and die in my own home, not in some white-walled hospital room. That's the truth, and I want to die right here. But how could I possibly just drive away and leave you to risk being burned to death here in this house? I wouldn't even leave Speckles behind. She's only a cat, let alone my husband. I'm sorry. I'd just be screaming in pain before you even got me to the door. Besides, I'd be putting you at risk by slowing you down. What about Becky and the baby? It's due any day now. Do you really want to risk them too? My sweet, you're my husband. Look, I've given this a lot of thought. Yesterday when the doc came, he said that I only had days to live. Not months, not weeks, just days. You heard him. You could even manage to get me in the van and take me with you. I'd probably either die on the way to Hearst or die when we got there. So what would you do if I died on you halfway to Hearst? But George, at least we'd be together. No, here's the thing. I know I'm going to die and I'm okay with that. I just don't want the pain anymore. I don't want her experience getting burned alive on the highway because I slowed you down. Of course I'd like you to be with me, but what's more important now is that you and Becky are safe. So here's what I need you to do. Please, my love. I know the doc gave you and I a new prescription for painkillers in case the ones we have run out. Call Shoppers and get it filled. It's just a refill of the same one I have now. Tell them it's urgent because we may have to leave town. Go into town and get it filled. Then I want you to do something extra. You know Bill McLeish, who runs the laundromat? I found out he's the one who sells drugs to the school kids. Go to him and tell him I'm dying and the doctor's drugs don't work anymore and can he sell you some fentanyl? Pay whatever he asks, but don't take no for an answer. Are you sure about Bill McLeish? I never knew that. Look, what I knew about McLeish is irrelevant. Just do it, please, Mary Ellen. And if the fire comes, I'm going to need something quicker acting than the regular prescription. But that stuff's illegal and it's dangerous. Look, I can't see you getting busted. The cops have got other things on their minds right now. And dangerous means something different to a guy who's dying of bone cancer than to a 16-year-old kid in school. Later that evening, Mary Ellen feels like a criminal sneaking off to the laundromat. She never actually walks through this part of town, only driven past. She parks in the alley, enters the establishment, and is faced with a row of washers and dryers. She expected there might be some sort of cashier, but the only people there are a lonely little middle-aged man and a woman who's probably in her late 20s, but looks as if she's strung out on something or other. Probably bought from Robesh, Mary thinks to herself, perhaps rather uncharitably. Mary Ellen approaches the young woman, feeling very awkward. Do you know where I could find Mr. Robesh? She asks politely. Robesh, him? Yeah, he's probably out there in the back, she says, pointing with her thumb towards the door. Would you want your Percocet run out? She inquires. You look the type. Just make sure you keep your legs together, she added. Mary Ellen blushed scarlet. She felt almost obliged to explain to the young woman that her dying husband needed extra painkillers, but kept her mouth shut. She knocked on the door at the back. Yeah, came the reply, to which Mary Ellen took an approximation to please come in. Mary Ellen expected to meet a scruffily dressed man with several days of stubble, but Bill McVeish was clean-shaven, neatly barbered, and smartly dressed in polo shirt and expensive-looking jeans. She began to tell him a story about George and his need for extra painkillers. McVeish interrupted. Lady, I don't care about your story. Maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. What I do care about is whether you're for real. What I need to know is to check whether you're wearing a wire. What do you mean? Look, I've never set eyes on you before. Are you for real? Eventually, Mr. McVeish made it clear that he needed to be able to see that she was not wired to record their conversation. Humiliated, Mary Ellen pulled up her top to let McVeish inspect underneath, allowed him to check the waistband of her jeans. Only then did they get round to what she needed. She was astonished at the ease with which her order could be met, and by the high cost of the 6 small pills that were handed over in a twist of paper. Practically like buying gold, she thought, but she paid up willingly for George and to speed her escape. Next day, Ontario Provincial Police said that all residents of Percival must be ready to evacuate their homes on 1 hour's notice. They were to make sure they glassed up their cars, collecting the belongings they need to bring the sheriff rehearsed, make sure you have plenty of water and other drinks and food to eat on the way. They could not expect to find anywhere open for food, drink or gas. The announcement to evacuate came at 9 o'clock the next morning. Once again, all residents must leave Percival Lake by 9:30 a.m. This is an order. George, you're really sure you won't change your mind? I'm so sorry, my sweet. We've been over and over this so many times. I'm too weak and in too much pain to travel. All I care about is you, Becky, and the baby. We couldn't live with ourselves if anything happened to them. I don't know what I asked you to do. Bring me the small cooler with the bottles of water and put it by the bed where I can reach it. Then get me double diapered. I'm going to take a painkiller right now. I hopefully won't scream too much. But anyway, don't take any notice if I can't help it. You don't have much time. Then last of all, bring the rest of the prescription pills and fentanyl and put them on the night table, just before 9:30. You've got everything in the van: clothes, food, water, your credit cards, passports. Did you remember Speckles? Really, George, of course I remember the cat, but I can't bear to leave you. Maybe I should stay with you and let Becky go on her own. My love, I've said it 1,000 times. My life is over, come what may. All I care about now is that you and Becky are safe, so let's not have a long goodbye. Oh, George, what will I do without you? I love you so much. I'll love you forever, whatever happens. Mary Ellen, I can't tell you how much I love you. Do look after yourselves on the journey. Call me on my cell phone when you get there, and kiss me one last time. And now goodbye, my lovely angel. Becky, I love you too. I remember the day when you were born, and I wish so much I could be with you when you have your own baby. Love me anyway, just like your mum and I have always loved you. Daddy, I really love you. And you too, my precious. Now go, both of you. Amid sobbing and the renewed goodbyes, Mary Ellen and Becky leave the house. George hears the car doors slam, the engine start, and the sound of crunching gravel on the driveway as it draws away. At last, George can give in to his own tears. Later that morning, 40 miles south of Persimmon Lake, a line of cars, pickups and campers moved slowly down the road. Visibility is very poor, despite the use of headlights. From time to time, walls of fire erupt on the right-hand side, western side of the road, and treetops explode in flame. On one occasion, terrifyingly, the blaze jumps the highway right ahead of the convoy, which must come to a complete stop. 20 minutes later, when the journey resumes, the evacuees are horrified to see a completely burned out pickup truck as they pass the site. Eventually, they reach the outskirts of Hearst. Hello, Dad, it's Becky. Just letting you know we're in Hearst. There's a long line of cars. We're headed to the reception centre. Are you okay? Becky, I'm so glad to hear you and to know that you're safe. How was the journey? Honestly, it was pretty scary. Sometimes it seemed like we were driving between walls of fire. What's the fire like at home? So far, so good. The wind's dropped a bit, and I think that's holding it back. Mum says to give you her love. She'll call you the minute we get to the reception centre. She's a bit stressed after driving for so many hours. At the reception centre, Mary Ellen and Becky have been waiting in line for an hour to be processed. Becky, great with child, sits uncomfortably on her rucksack of clothing. Suddenly, the rucksack is wet and a puddle appears on the floor around it. Becky's waters are broken. Oh, Mom, I think the baby's coming. Mary Ellen comforts Becky and leaves her and goes to the front of the line. Excuse me. The folding table that serves as the reception desk, she tells the lady behind it, can you help me, please? My daughter's back there in the line. She's expecting and her waters have just broken. Rows of sympathy from those at the front of the line replaced the muted grumbling towards the woman who pushed in front of them so abruptly. The lady behind the reception desk calls over to a man who they identify as Ken Volunteer. Don't worry, ma'am, says Ken. Just bring your daughter to the corner over there. Points. We've got some cots already set up for people who've got smoke inhalation on the way here. I'll go and get someone to set up a privacy section. It's the best we can do right now, and I'll call the midwife's office. By 8:45, George picks up the phone at the first ring. You and Becky's still okay, asks Mary Ellen. George, I'm sorry not to have called you again before this. We're still at the reception centre, we're fine. But Becky's waters broke while we were waiting in line. Things were a bit crazy, but everything's fine right now. They made a little cubicle for her and there's a doctor on his way. Her contractions are about 2 minutes apart, so it won't be too long, I hope. What about you, my love? Are you okay? What about the fire? George looks out the window at the line of flame that's rapidly approaching in the near darkness. Oh, I'm just fine, my sweet. The fire's kept away so far. Thank goodness for that. Look, I'm not going to stay on the line as I need to hold Becky's hand. It's pretty crazy out there. I'll call you again as soon as I have any more news. Are you sure you're okay? Yes, I'm just fine. Don't you worry about a thing. Just go back and look after Becky. She's number one at the moment. Goodbye, my darling. Goodbye, George. I love you. Love you too. Bye, my love. 5 minutes later, George watches the wall frame race down the hillside towards his window. He reaches over to the night table for the various pills that are lying there and swallows them, beginning with the fentanyl between sips of water. 2 minutes later, the flames reach the house, which ignites immediately. Shortly afterwards, the windows explode outwards and the roof collapses. At 11:45 at the reception centre, Mary Ellen calls George for the 5th time, so telling the news he's a grandfather. There's no reply. The number is still unobtainable. I guess the cell phone tower must be down, she tells Becky reassuringly. But in her heart of hearts, she knows there's a vain hope. She excuses herself to go to the washroom so that Becky will not see her tears of anguish, grief. The next day, the TV news is on the television monitors that are set up in the Hearst Arena. They've been broadcasting information about Persimmon Lake and the surrounding small community as news has come in. Now comes the first footage of the town taken from a helicopter. It shows the area still wreathed in thick smoke. The pass over the town centre shows that the downtown area is still intact, along with the main residential area and the mall on the outskirts of town. Sighs of relief accompany each revelation of undamaged property. And perhaps the most heartfelt is when the mill, the raison d'etre of the town, is revealed to have been spared. However, a pass over the northern outskirts of the community shows that in place of a dozen or so homes set among trees, there remains only a landscape of blackened tree stumps and concrete foundations where there had been homes only a day before. Devastation is so complete that neither Mary Ellen nor Becky can recognise which of the foundations belong to their home. Oh my God, whispered Mary Ellen. Oh, George. 2 days later, it's announced that residents can expect to be allowed to go home on Thursday. The final word will depend on what's found by an advance party that's already left for Persimmon Lake. People are busy cleaning out rotting food from grocery stores, and new supplies are already on their way north. But residents are advised to do as much of their shopping as possible before they leave, and as it's likely that many items will be in short supply. Arrangements have been made to give priority in local motels to those families whose homes have been destroyed. This accommodation for rent will be posted at the town hall, starting at 12 noon on Friday. Mary Ellen, Becky and the baby make a foray to Walmart to purchase back-to-school supplies for Becky, who will be starting grade 12, as well as a list of kitchen equipment, pots and pans, dishcloths, tea towels, dishware and cutlery. Of even greater importance, they purchase a crib and other baby necessities, as all of those that have been accumulated over the past few months have been lost in the fire. By a singular coincidence, when they arrive, most affordable 2-bedroom accommodation is an apartment over the laundromat where Mary Ellen had pleaded with Bill McVeigh for nurse at Fentanyl for George. Had he taken it in time, she's asked herself over and over again in the past week. 2 women and the baby parked the car in the alley beside the laundromat. They climbed the stairs of their pathetic few possessions. Empty rooms creaked at them hollowly as they walked in. A fine grey ash covered every surface. Home sweet home, said Becky sourly, to which her mother replied, at least we have a roof over our heads. But over the weekend, a transformation took place. Acquaintances and total strangers showed up with household necessities and offered of help. But Jack Dyer from the Mill Union's Provident Association brought a check for $250 and stayed to assemble the crib that had been purchased in Hurst. Unused chairs and tables, living room furniture, and blankets were retrieved from residents' basements and donated with smiles and offers. Anything else you need, just let us know. And by Sunday evening, Becky and Mary Ellen could look around their apartment of mismatched furniture, beds, night tables, a kitchen dinette set of 60s vintage, and a truly ugly Chesterfield and mismatched chairs, and say to each other, the area's beginning to look like home. And Mary Ellen said to Becky, let's go to school tomorrow, and we need to find out what arrangements they make with girls to bring their babies with them. After supper, Becky said, Mom, I really wish that Dad could be able to see the baby. He just loved him. Would it be okay with you to be calling baby George just like his grandpa? They both had a little cry together. Then Mary Ellen said, I just had a thought. I have to go and see the minister about having a funeral service for your dad. Would you like me to ask him if we could have George baptized at the same time? I'd really like that, said Becky. But do you think he'd agree to do a funeral with baptism all in one? I don't know, but there's only one way to find out.